Hello everyone, this is Dr. Surit Avraham, and today I'm going to teach you a very powerful tool that can strengthen your overall health, and just as importantly, the health of your teeth and gums. If there's anyone in the audience who doesn't want to reduce their dental treatments, then maybe this tutorial isn't for you. But if your answer is that you do want to reduce your dental treatments, save time, pain, and money, enjoy better breath, healthy gums, strong teeth, and optimal health in general, then you should probably watch this tutorial all the way to the end. Anyone who knows me knows that my goal as a dentist is to provide people with peace of mind from problems of the mouth, teeth, and gums. And with this perspective, that's how I treat people. For this to happen, there are two things that need to take place. First, the treatment we provide needs to work better, and that means we need to perform it in the most thorough way possible, with the idea that once the treatment is done at the dental clinic, you shouldn't have to repeat it over and over again. This shouldn't happen, except in very exceptional cases. And the second is that you need to know how to maintain your health at home. As a dentist with over 15 years of experience, I can tell you that the most successful treatments have always been those where there was extensive cooperation between us and the patient. In the clinic, we do everything we can to provide you with the best possible treatment. This includes staying up to date, constantly reading the latest research, periodically attending professional training, and always learning advanced techniques, using some of the most advanced equipment and technologies in the field, and always searching for the highest quality biocompatible materials. And honestly, the list goes on. Anyone who wants to can, of course, visit our website and find a lot of information there about the advanced treatments we offer. But today, we're going to focus on what you can do at home to improve the health of your mouth, gums, and teeth. If you don't know what you're doing at home to strengthen your oral health by avoiding habits and situations that cause problems, then it's likely that the issues will just keep coming back again and again. If not in the exact same tooth we treated, then in other teeth you have, or in the gums, and so on. What matters to me is to provide you with a comprehensive solution for your oral health, because I see it as a key point for the health of the entire body. And also because I see it as my personal mission. That's why I created a complete course where I teach what can be done at home to maintain oral health.
Hey there, a quick note before we go on with the rest of this video. I just want you to know that if you are a member of our clinic, then you can get a free access to an online course I created especially for our patients.
In the guidance sessions I give to patients and members of our WhatsApp group, I share advanced content from the course and focus on the most important habits for the health of the mouth, teeth, gums, and the whole body. In the upcoming sessions, I will focus on key habits. That means you will receive a key, and the moment you open that door, you will simply enter a place where things will be much, much better for you. In other words, these are habits that, once you start implementing them, you will quickly feel that you have more strength, more energy, and this will naturally lead you to a situation where it will be much easier for you to incorporate more and more good habits into your life. And believe me, when you feel good, energetic, and strong, suddenly you have the desire to do more, not just to get through the usual daily tasks. That's why we'll start with the key habits that will help you begin a wonderful journey toward the health of your mouth, teeth, gums, and your entire body. A quick note before we begin. It's important to emphasize that even though I'm talking here about strong and effective habits for health, this information, of course, does not replace a personal checkup and consultation with a dentist, and I strongly recommend getting examined on time, in a careful and orderly manner, always with a trusted and experienced dentist you completely trust, because the very best treatment is truly the one done sufficiently early enough, before more advanced and serious complications truly begin to emerge, complications that can also potentially arise during the entire course of the treatment process. On the face of it, you might expect that the first key habit I, as a dentist, would talk about would be related to brushing your teeth. That's what most dentists talk about, and of course, I also think it's extremely important. But after conducting an in-depth internal study through observing thousands of patients and their lifestyle habits, I realized that if we focus only on brushing habits, we might miss the bigger picture. Most people find it hard to adopt new habits, even when these habits are quite simple and don't take much time. And that's not all. Many times I see that patients have trouble even listening to and absorbing the instructions we give them. And at the next appointment, even though we've already explained it to them before, they no longer remember what I said. Some even tell me in advance, I won't remember, I just can't deal with this right now. And this happens not because there's something wrong with you, or because you're not serious people, as some tend to say about themselves. Really, it's also not because you don't have time. Most people are quite sharp and often have much more free time than we think. If you have this kind of here and there, if we add up the time you spend watching videos on social media or scrolling on your phone, it comes to at least 30 minutes a day. And most people actually have much more time than that. So theoretically, you have time for 6 more small 5-minute habits each day. Just trim down a bit the time you spend watching those things, right? After all, it's not like these things are actually helping or benefiting you. So why do you actually feel like you don't have time to take better care of yourself? And you just go to the places that are easy for you. Why is it so hard for you to motivate yourself, even for things that only take a few short minutes and could significantly improve your health? Including reducing the need for dental treatments, which we all know take time, money, and cause pain? The real answer is that it's not really about a lack of time, but a lack of energy. You might be telling yourself right now that you really don't understand what I'm talking about, and that's okay too. Listen until the end, and chances are you'll be able to do the skills better later on. Our lifestyle today is very demanding. We feel like we're lacking knowledge, lacking money, lacking time. We're glued to screens for hours, focused and constantly available. And our system is in a state of almost constant alertness. And as a result, many people actually suffer from ongoing burnout. Such a lifestyle leads to increased secretion of certain hormones. And one of the main ones is cortisol. Now I'll give you a really good example which some of you might really relate to. Right, there are many women who say they had really good teeth until they had their children. So that's one example of this. The secretion of cortisol, after all, a mother also needs it. A baby, in its development as a fetus in the womb, requires a huge amount of energetic and physical resources from her. That means he needs to draw a lot from her. Then, after he's born, she needs to nurse him, and there's no proper night's sleep. So it's no coincidence that women tend to suffer more with their teeth around pregnancies. So notice that there is a connection between the problem of very high secretion of cortisol, stress, and the difficulties we experience in life, and the condition of our mouth, teeth, and gums. That's why it's so important for us to balance this hormone as a key point in our lives in general. Now, what is cortisol? Cortisol is the stress hormone. The body has the ability to cope with cortisol up to a certain level. But when it is secreted in excess, it causes a chain of problems in the body, in the immune system, and among other things also in the mouth, teeth, and gums. High cortisol can be associated, among other things, with dry mouth, teeth grinding, blood pressure imbalance, diabetes, impaired immune system function, and many other issues. The moment this hormone gets out of control, we actually find ourselves in a much worse state. Another major area it significantly affects is sleep quality. And who among us doesn't suffer from some kind of sleep problem? There is hardly a single person I talk to who comes here to the clinic and doesn't report some sort of sleep disorder. We'll talk about what counts as a sleep disorder, because there are people who, when I ask them about their sleep, will say it's perfectly fine. But then when I start asking them more detailed questions, we realize that their sleep is actually not very good at all. So there are various ways to start lowering cortisol levels in the body, and we'll talk about some of them in the upcoming sessions. Today, I want to focus with you on one particularly effective way that will help you balance this hormone, and that's by strengthening the good bacteria in our bodies. In one word, probiotics. But don't jump to conclusions just yet. This isn't the kind of probiotics you're already familiar with. Stay tuned for more. For those who aren't quite sure what probiotics actually are, in short, probiotics are a group of beneficial bacteria that strengthen the digestive system, the immune system, and also help support the health of the mouth, teeth, and gums. It's not only available as a supplement, you can also get it from food itself. But right now, we're going to talk about something very, very, very specific, how we're going to produce probiotics. A very specific kind that will help us balance the body, mouth, teeth, and gums, and thereby strengthen us overall. But the good bacteria within the probiotics work for us. They balance our bodies from the inside and contribute to our teeth and gums much more than most people realize. Many people mistakenly call all sorts of things they make at home to strengthen themselves or to treat illnesses nature's antibiotic. Well, there are medicinal plants that have antibiotic properties. That is, they intentionally kill bacteria, but usually antibiotics, whether natural or from the pharmacy, kill bacteria indiscriminately. That means they kill the good bacteria along with the bad. In this short segment I just mentioned, there's actually a lot of information that requires some basic background and understanding. But for our purposes, probiotics are essentially something, we'll talk in a moment about what that something is, that contains good bacteria which actually work together with our immune system in cooperation. They strengthen it and allow us to feel stronger. Unlike antibiotics, probiotics help the immune system fight off bad bacteria while preserving and strengthening the good bacteria. It can be said that in the past 200 years, it has become clear to both medicine and patients that tiny organisms, called the microbiome, or what you commonly know as bacteria, tiny living things, can have a significant impact on our health, our mood, and many other aspects of our lives. If, during the first 100 years of the period we just discussed, general medicine mainly focused on looking at the harmful bacteria and using various antibiotics to fight them, today, the latest medical research understands that there are also good bacteria and that it is very worthwhile to strengthen them in order to enjoy better health. In this field of research, there is still a long way to go in order to fully understand how the probiotic bacteria, which is the general name for the good bacteria, can be used in various areas of medical treatment. Anyone who reads research in the field understands that in the future, probiotics will be used more than antibiotics, but the road to that point is still long, and that's not the purpose of our podcast today. Rather, it's to understand how we can easily strengthen ourselves by starting to live better and happier lives. Because believe it or not, the bacteria that reside inside our bodies have a significant impact on what we do every day. It's clear to both you and me that when we feel strong, our bodies function well, and we are happy. We have time to take care of ourselves, and even accomplish more tasks than we thought we could. On the other hand, when we're tired, it's hard for us to imagine adding even a small 5-minute habit to our day. Let's go back for a moment to the example of the hormone cortisol. We talked about it a few minutes ago. Did I explain it to you? And in another upcoming session, we'll dive a bit deeper into the topic, so for now, you'll just have to trust me that when there's an oversecretion of this hormone, we become weaker. Although the purpose of the hormone's secretion is actually to give us strength and power to run, escape, and protect ourselves. But to put it briefly, our need for this hormone in the lifestyle we live today is not particularly high, because we don't really need to run away from a lion in the jungle anymore. Our ability to use it is much less than that of our ancient ancestors. Now pay attention. If cortisol was released in your body as a result of seeing something in the jungle, you ran and managed to escape the predator, its secretion probably helped you a lot, because even if you got sick, at least you would be alive. However, in our current lifestyle today, this hormone mainly causes people to get sick. When it is, of course, unbalanced and secreted in excess, it protects them much less. There are many reasons why our current lifestyle leads to increased cortisol levels, and in general to many problems of the body and mind. But for now, we will focus first and foremost on how we can reduce its secretion, clear its excess from the body, and return to being strong and focused on what we choose to do, instead of feeling like we don't have enough energy or time for the things that truly matter to us. And the truth is that most of the time, we can actually do much more each day, far beyond what we think. When our body is strong and balanced, believe it or not, the sky's the limit. You just need to keep your head with me now. Okay, so for our purposes, we've understood that there's a substance called a hormone, and for various reasons, which we'll learn about in the upcoming lessons, it causes us problems in the mouth, the body, and even the mind. This hormone interferes with many of our functions, significantly reduces the quality of our sleep, and as a result, leads to very low energy in the body. As a result, at best, we have trouble learning, listening, and doing new things. We're actually pretty disconnected from ourselves. And even if we're not sick, we're not really healthy, and we struggle to do what would help our health. In the worst case, we actually feel really sick. And this can manifest in a wide variety of things, including both physical and mental illnesses. So how can the good bacteria we talked about earlier help us? Good bacteria have a tremendous impact on how our body functions. Just as bad bacteria can cause diseases, good bacteria can promote health. One of the things that bad bacteria cause in our body is excessive secretion, for example, blockage or discharge, of the hormone cortisol, the hormone that interferes with our health. In contrast, the good bacteria help with what? With lowering cortisol levels. Well done to you. And in this way, among other things, they allow us to enjoy better health. Health is not a state of absence of disease, but a state of high functioning. This is something that people and even many doctors haven't really internalized over the years. And honestly, that's not entirely unreasonable. We're simply in the midst of some evolutionary process, and right now, we're talking about the next stage in the evolving health consciousness. So even if it takes quite a few years, don't worry, that's just how it is in the world. Okay, so let's get down to business. In the next tutorial, we'll talk about what causes us to have fewer good bacteria and which habits are worth reducing to avoid such problems. But in this tutorial, we're going to learn specifically and in a very practical way what can help us easily and effectively improve the quantity and activity of the good bacteria inside us. So how can we strengthen the good bacteria inside our bodies? One option is to buy probiotics. You go to a health food store, a pharmacy, or visit health product websites like iHerb or any other online store and stock up. You know what I mean? Most people don't really feel a significant enough change after using the probiotics they've bought. Maybe one day it will happen, but for now, there still aren't enough good probiotics sold in capsules that actually help our bodies function better. So why does this happen? Because they still haven't figured it out. One of the answers is actually that they haven't yet found a way to grow the bacteria inside a capsule so that there's a good enough amount of them and so that they survive the time they spend sitting on the shelf. Now, as a side note, I'll tell you that there are live probiotics being sold today in pharmacies that are more effective, but they are usually very expensive, and they can be used for a short period of time. Most of the time, it's not practical to use them in the long term, so their effect is short-lived. However, sometimes they can be incorporated into an appropriate treatment protocol, especially after taking antibiotics. If you'd like, I can prepare a guide for purchasing live probiotics. You just need to write to me so I know how many of you are interested, and of course I'll prepare a guide on the subject if I see there's enough demand for it. One of the leading physicians in the field of health who talks about using probiotics to treat a wide range of diseases is Dr. William Davis, a Canadian cardiologist who has researched their positive effects on health for many years. He found an easy and simple way to make probiotics at home, ones that really work, and that anyone, even with just basic kitchen skills, can prepare. You don't need any special equipment, just to get a certain probiotic strain, which isn't very expensive to begin with, and you can make more than the initial amount through a very simple process. Now, I could have talked to you about other ways to make probiotics at home, but I chose to present this specific probiotic to you for many reasons. One of them is that it is a therapeutic probiotic strain. It actually has therapeutic effects, with several studies that have been conducted on it, starting from studies examining its effect on balancing blood sugar levels, balancing blood pressure, and including articles in the field of dentistry that even discuss its positive impact on oral health, rapid healing of mouth wounds, whether it's a canker sore or even healing cuts after oral surgery, gum surgeries, dental implants, and so on. You won't believe it, will you? How much activity there is around such an herb, and how many studies have examined it simply because it seemed so important in the scientific world. And I'm attaching for you here on my website a link with the video as well as the transcript of everything I said here in the video. We'll simply transcribe it, and you'll be able to read everything on the site along with links to the articles, so you can see that the research world really has studied this. It has been studied in a very significant way, and this bacterium has a very, very, very significant effect in our body. This bacterium is so powerful that as soon as it enters our digestive system, it addresses a variety of issues and can even create a coalition of strong beneficial bacteria around it. So it's really like a kind of prime minister of the bacteria. Now, everything, as I told you, you will have studies attached to this. If you're interested, it's really important that you read them, because this can have a significant impact on your health. Okay, so we've understood the difficulty of our art in reaching our full potential, the difficulty in doing additional tasks, even if they're easy and don't take much time. The inability to listen deeply, remember, and apply new things stems from fatigue, which is partly caused by an imbalance in secretion of a certain hormone called cortisol. Now, before we move on, I want to tell you that among us right now, there are people listening and thinking to themselves, wait, what is she talking about fatigue? This doesn't really apply to me. I'm not a tired person. The truth is, it's very possible that you don't feel tired at all, because as long as you have a high secretion of cortisol, you can find yourself in a state of alertness, and you won't necessarily feel that you're tired. So don't focus only on fatigue as a symptom, but try to see if the other things I mentioned throughout the talk are relevant to you. Just before I guide you on how to easily make at home a probiotic, a culture of this specific bacterium that Dr. William Davis talks about, it's important that you know what results to expect. Of course, the first thing you should expect is a significant improvement in oral health. Better breath, a significant reduction in bleeding and inflammation of the gums, a decrease in the number of new cavities forming, better healing of wounds, and in addition, expect deeper sleep, a greater sense of strength and resilience, an improvement in collagen production, and when we produce more collagen, there are fewer wrinkles and less tendency for bone fractures, which is of course very important as we age. In addition, we will feel greater resilience, and then we are less likely to get influenza back from seasonal viruses. And there are also people who talk about a real balancing of blood sugar levels, blood pressure regulation, and solutions for a variety of other health issues. And this is also supported by research. Don't forget that the person we're talking about, the doctor who discovered this very important role of this bacterium in our health and treats many people for a variety of issues, is actually a cardiologist. So really, we're talking about a very, very broad range of activity for this bacterium. Now, if you are parents of children, you should know that there are also studies reporting improvements in behavior, mood, hyperactivity, attention and concentration, and a whole range of things that children can suffer from. Now, of course, I'm not saying that you are going to solve health problems on your own just by taking this probiotic. And if you have health issues that have already been diagnosed, you should be under close supervision by your doctor and not stop taking medication on your own initiative. But yes, this probiotic has so much to offer us that information about it should be in every home. Okay? So, what is the probiotic strain that Dr. William Davis uses to treat a wide range of health issues and improve health markers in his patients? It's a bacterium called Lactobacillus reuteri, or for short, L. reuteri. For convenience, from now on, we'll refer to it by its short name. And before you rush to order it, keep in mind that even L. reuteri has various substrains, some of which are more potent, and some are less potent. So if you want to make this probiotic and have it be effective enough, you need to get a probiotic that specifically lists two substrains, which were identified and developed by Dr. William Davis. In short, these two substrains are called LRDR, so if you want a probiotic product that says LRDR on it, you'll know these are the strains recommended by Dr. William Davis. And I'll write it for you right here next to me. You'll notice that a slide appears here with the specific substrains written out in a more detailed way so you can know how to find them. Now, of course, you don't have to go look for them on your own. I can tell you that there are two products on the market that contain these two strains, and they are the product from BioGaia, which is a probiotic called Gastrus, that contains these two strains in a tablet. In Israel, it's easier to get this product, since it's available both in health food stores here in the country, and you can also get it from iHerb, which ships its supplements here to Israel. And often you can get good supplements from them, and shipping to Israel is usually free if you buy over a certain amount, which isn't particularly high to begin with. Now, there is a newer product, maybe from the last 2 years, that Dr. William Davis produced himself. After years of using Biogia, we're talking about over 10 years that he used Biogia's product, he decided, together with a certain company, to form a collaboration and create a new supplement. The only problem is that since the product is relatively new, it's hard to get it here in the country because they haven't started bringing it to stores here yet. It's currently not readily available for purchase on the popular online retailer iHerb, and if we were to buy it directly from the specific online store or vendor where they exclusively sell it, I will also provide you with a direct link to that particular store. Just be aware that the cost of shipping and handling alone significantly exceeds the actual price of the product itself. This is a crucial point to consider. That's why I recommend making the whole process much simpler, unless you know someone coming from the United States who can bring you this product. But to be honest with you, I personally had a really good experience with the probiotics from BioGaia, even before Dr. Davis developed the product himself together with this company, and I know that you can achieve very good results with BioGaia's probiotics as well. The apparent advantage of the product that Dr. Davis himself developed in recent years is that it contains a larger quantity of bacteria. The product comes in a capsule and not in a tablet, because if it comes in a tablet, we have to grind it, which adds another step to the process, turning it into a powder, and then you'll see what we do with it later on. On the other hand, if we get it in a capsule, we simply open the capsule and put the powder inside. Now, in addition to that, one capsule of Dr. William Davis's new product is equivalent to 10 tablets of BioGaia. That means you get much more in the same product, at least according to the reports from the company Dr. William Davis works with. However, it's worth keeping in mind that it's best to make everything much easier. The BioGaia product works. Dr. William Davis used it for many years before he developed his own product under his name, and it's easy to obtain in Israel. Additionally, after you've prepared the amount with the probiotic and the 10 tablets, you can use it to make a lot more probiotic in a much larger quantity. In a moment, I'll explain to you how that works. You don't need to rack your brains about how to get the product unless you know someone who can bring it to you from the United States or Canada, and then it's much easier. For this matter, since it's easier to get the BioGaia product in the country, I'll explain what to do with this product in order to produce a large amount of probiotics from it. From 10 capsules, you can make more than 5 liters of probiotics. Did you hear that? That's really a very large quantity. Which means that from 30 capsules, you can even produce 15 liters, and that's exactly 30 tablets, that are in BioGaia. You can make even 15 liters of it, which is a huge amount. Okay, so what's the next step? A few minutes ago, we talked about how it's hard to get good enough results from probiotics that sit on the shelf. Many times the bacteria die, if not on the shelf, then they die already in our stomach. Because the high acidity that is naturally supposed to be in the stomach kills them on the way to the intestines, and then they're not really active. They don't give us what we need. That's why Dr. William Davis realized that in order for this probiotic to give us what we want to get from it, we need to revive and multiply the bacteria so that they are strong enough to overcome the barriers they need to pass on their way there. So before we put the probiotic in our mouths, we actually put it through a short process that makes it more effective. There's the easy recipe that has worked many times, and there's Dr. William Davis's recipe. His recipe isn't that complicated either, but I'll explain to you what I think about Dr. Davis's recipe and how, in my opinion, it should be used. Let's start with the easy recipe that works, with really great results, and helped me feel stronger and more energetic. It even helped me overcome some health issues that weren't classified as diseases, but still bothered me. So pay attention. What we're going to do is you'll get yourself a 1 liter jar because the ratio is 10 tablets for 1 liter. So I recommend, of course, to start by preparing 1 liter, which we'll call the starter liter. And I'll explain to you in a moment. Once you have a jar, clean it thoroughly. And after you've washed it with water and soap, you need to sterilize it with boiling water because high temperatures also kill bacteria that might have remained. Thank you. Maybe your scouring pad wasn't clean enough. Tap water isn't always the cleanest. So to sterilize the jar, we clean it with hot water. Now, if you're cleaning it with a jar, you need to do it very, very carefully. Each time, add a little more hot water until the jar gradually, the glass has a slight ability to expand. So we add a bit more hot water until it seems like it's expanded enough, and then you can add a little more, because they can crack this way. Now, another way is simply to use a Pyrex bowl with a lid, and then you can feel more at ease, because Pyrex is heat resistant. Now, there are people who actually put the jar in the oven at 200 degrees, and then the temperature rises gradually from 0 to 200, and that way they sterilize a lot of jars at once. It really depends on on the quantity you're going for. To make, but of course we're starting simple, and we're just starting with 1 liter. There are other people who simply put it in a pot with boiling water and really just boil the jar. I can tell you personally, what worked well enough for me is what I explained to you, just rinsing it with some hot water after cleaning it with soap and water. After that, we take 10 tablets of the supplement and grind them into a fine powder. You can use a small pill grinder that you can buy at the pharmacy. Sometimes parents need them for their kids to crush tablets because they can't swallow pills. So there are these small pill grinders you can buy at the pharmacy. I personally use one of those, it's very nice. But of course you can also use a mortar and pestle, or even a schnitzel hammer if you really want. Honestly, I wouldn't do it in a spice grinder because you don't want the metal. From the spice grinder, we'll get into your probiotic because it tends to react with metals. And what happens is you'll end up with a metallic taste in your yogurt. I tried it, not recommended at all. You'll just end up throwing that yogurt away. You won't eat it. So remember, not in a spice grinder and not in anything that generates a lot of heat with metals. Now, after we've ground up the tablets, we'll mix them with 1 liter of milk. Here in Israel, what you'll have available is 1 liter of pasteurized milk, so you don't need to do the extra step that Dr. William Davis recommends, which is to heat the milk to 70 degrees because it's already been heated in the process before you bought it. So if you're concerned about the milk itself, some people are very wary of milk, and I'll talk about that in a moment. You can use coconut milk, or you can also to get milk from more reliable sources and of better quality, so I'll cover that as well. I actually have a dedicated tutorial video that shows you more, but here I just found a few minutes at the clinic to share this information with you. I'll also give you a much more specific guide and demonstrate how we do it, what types of milk I use, and so on. Now, at first, I also use coconut milk, so I can explain to you what to do with it if you're really hesitant about the idea of using milk. So what we do is, once we've mixed the milk with the powder, we place the jar with the milk and the bacteria in an environment of 36 degrees Celsius. Now, you might have a home yogurt maker, but most people don't. And you don't need to buy one, especially for this. If you don't have one, just put the jar in the oven, place the jar on the bottom of the oven, of course, and turn the oven on to the light bulb setting only. Now, if you have kids at home or someone who might come and do something with the oven during this time, since it needs to stay there for 24 hours, Then, of course, put up a sign. One of my friends told me that he's really worried one of his kids will come and turn on the oven and kill the bacteria in there. So it really is worth putting up a sign. Do not use the oven. There's something inside, and you need to let me know before using it. Because, obviously, within those 24 hours, one of your kids might want to use the oven. And it's also not a big deal if you stop the process, let it rest outside for a bit, use the oven, let it cool down, and then put it back in the oven. Absolutely nothing will happen to the process if you do that. So, really, if you have an oven, that's enough. You don't need to buy any special equipment, especially not at the beginning. First of all, try it out, see if it works for you, and then you can decide whether you want to invest in it or not. If you used milk, after 24 hours, you'll get fermented milk with lots of probiotics. And the texture, it will be thick and creamy like yogurt. It's not regular yogurt, but rather fermented milk. A lot of people ask me, no, it's really not what you buy at the store. But for the sake of convenience, we'll call it yogurt. Personally, I tend to wait a full 24 hours and not take it out before then. Although there are people, you'll find their videos online, who talk about stopping the process at 9 hours or 18 hours, but that completely misses the point. It's true that the milk can already thicken a lot and reach a yogurt-like texture within that time frame, but it won't reach the amount of probiotics we want to get from it. Now, Dr. William Davis actually recommends 36 hours of fermentation. Later on, I'll also explain why I don't really recommend 36 hours of fermentation for the first batch, and how I still achieve the results that Dr. William Davis talks about. Okay, now if you're using coconut milk, the texture you'll get won't be similar to that of yogurt, but rather more like a runny Laban, liquid yogurt. For those who want a thicker texture, Dr. Davis recommends adding a thickener to the coconut milk, such as agar-agar. But keep in mind that agar-agar requires boiling the milk, and the resulting texture can be very, very thick, almost like a jelly. Personally, I recommend avoiding the thickener because you can simply drink the result in a glass like a runny Laban. It's nice, and it has a pleasant, tangy flavor. And another way to thicken it, if you're not using agar, is simply to add some chia seeds and make chia pudding. After you add the chia seeds, let it sit for at least 4 hours. So if you want to eat it at lunchtime, put it together in the morning. If you want to eat it in the morning, prepare it in the evening. That way, you'll have something that's both enriched and has a more jelly-like texture, if that's what you like. And if you still decide to use agar-agar to thicken it, I really, really recommend adding just a tiny pinch, not a teaspoon like Dr. William Davis suggests per liter, because otherwise you'll end up with a very, very jelly-like texture. It really depends. Some people absolutely loved it. There were guests who came and really enjoyed this coconut jelly. Personally, I didn't connect with it as much, I have to admit. But of course, it's a matter of taste. Now, another point regarding coconut milk. Personally, I was very, very hesitant to use milk at first because I suffered for many years from sensitivity to dairy products. And we'll actually talk in general about food allergies and how that's also related to cortisol and the things we discussed earlier. So if you are also people who are sensitive to a very wide range of foods, of course, two of the most prominent ones that most of the population is concerned about are gluten and dairy products, then you should know that today, for example, I no longer suffer from this allergy. Of course, I eat the healthier options within these food groups, and we still have a lot more to talk about, as you can see, about how these things can actually not only avoid causing you sensitivities, unless, of course, you have celiac disease, but can actually really help your health and bring you into balance. So it's all a matter of how we consume them in a way that's more appropriate. And of course, once we have enough good bacteria in our system and we pair these foods with good bacteria, it helps us digest them much better and we don't suffer from the same symptoms we experienced before. So at some point, like at first, I obviously started taking this yogurt with coconut milk. Don't ask me why, but maybe at the beginning, I also fermented it for 36 hours, like Dr. William Davis recommended. And it just came out with a taste I couldn't stand. It would just sit in my fridge and I wouldn't use it. And I'd look at it, it would look at me, and I wouldn't eat it. On the other hand, you should know that my father-in-law would come over to my house and he really enjoyed this yogurt. He kept asking me all the time, "Where's your coconut yogurt?" So it really is a matter of taste. If coconut milk works well for you, that's great. If not so much, just know that it's very possible you can get your body used to eating this yogurt with milk. And yes, you might experience some strange effects at first if you're not used to dairy products. So, to get your body accustomed, you should start with very, very small amounts, just a tiny pinch. Just taste it. If you see your system is handling it well, the next day try half a teaspoon. If that goes well, the next day try a full teaspoon. Gradually, you increase the amount, and then you'll see, wow, your immune system doesn't react so problematically. And then you'll reach an amount that you can start using as a therapeutic dose. And what is a therapeutic dose? A therapeutic dose is basically at least 2 tablespoons, 3 times a day, just like medicine. That's how we take it. At first, it seems strange to me. We're talking about yogurt, right? But at some point, I told myself, okay, I'll really treat it like a kind of medicine. And I actually saw that when I treated it like a kind of medicine, it improved what I wanted to achieve much more significantly. And it was truly amazing. So treat it like medicine. When we actually finish the 24 hours, we put it in the fridge. That's also a question I was asked. And of course, the preservation process for this will be in the fridge. It keeps for a very long time. How do I know that? Because back when I used to make the fermented coconut milk, it would last for months in the fridge. And then I tried it with milk and saw that it also lasted for months. So just know that you can make a very large quantity to last for a long period after you get through the first liter. So how do we turn 10 tablets of this BioGaia into 5 liters of probiotics? Actually, after you've made the first liter, you can keep making more from it. We take 2 tablespoons from the first liter, which has already fermented, transfer it to the next liter of milk, and use it at least 4 to 5 more times. From the first liter you made, you can prepare at least 5 more liters. How will you know if you can make more? As long as the yogurt you make smells and tastes similar to what you made before, the probiotics are still active. And if I reveal a secret to you, just between us, or maybe a few more people, if you take one small extra step and set aside a small jar with 3 to 4 tablespoons of yogurt, it can serve as your starter. Then you'll be able to use your starter many times to make yogurt. What's the problem with using 2 tablespoons from the yogurt you're actually eating, from the jar you're eating out of? When you open the jar again and again, it lets oxygen in, and that can reduce the amount of bacteria for the next fermentation. Therefore, it's best to simply set aside a small jar along with the liter you prepared. What I do is not prepare the jar and then divide it up. I do it from the start. When I pour the milk into the first liter, or if today I'm making much more because I already have the starter quantities, then at the same time I also set aside a small jar or several small jars, which I know will be my starters for next times, and they always stay closed and basically aren't opened until I want to make yogurt from them again. So once you do it this way and you keep it closed, that jar will stay clean, it won't oxidize, no other bacteria will get inside. The bacterial count inside will remain stable and more reliable for future use, and then you'll be able to get much more out of it. Now, for anyone who wants Dr. Davis's recipe, which isn't really complicated but is a bit more involved, of course, you can get it. And I'll also put it here as a link for you. Dr. Davis's rationale in the recipe he originally published was to produce as many bacteria as possible, so he added a few more ingredients to help them multiply better. Now, we're talking about a recipe he released a few years ago, and the rationale behind it was more scientific. In practice, over the years, I tried his recipe, and I also listened to various refinements he made to the recipe in recent years. And then I came to the conclusion that the method I just explained to you is much simpler, and it actually works better in practice. If you still want to check whether Dr. Davis's recipe works better for you, of course, I'll also include various links to videos that explain how to make his yogurt. I hope this tutorial helped you, and that I gave you enough motivation to start right now and open a new door to health. Soon there will be more tutorials about other key habits that will help you enjoy healthier and stronger teeth. For example, how can you encourage your nervous system to function better in your body? Is it really worth doing intermittent fasting, or is it something you should definitely avoid? Which detox fasts are the most suitable and effective for balancing your system? And how to do them in a way that is correct and won't cause significant harm to your body. What are the eating habits that aren't talked about enough, yet are even more important than the type of food you eat itself? how to improve your night's sleep so that your body can enter a state of healing and repair every night, providing you with optimal health and more. So keep following along. This journey is going to be fascinating. Before I say goodbye, as I mentioned at the beginning, in our clinic, we always provide the most advanced, up-to-date, and best treatment for you. Thanks to this, people come to us from all over the country and even from abroad. But in the end, you are the ones living with your teeth every day, and you are the ones who can choose to take care of your health. And I would be happy to see you healthy, thriving, and happy, to see you coming in just for routine checkups over the years. You can do it. It's not always easy, but believe me, it's possible. And I recommend that you follow me and apply my recommendations. Don't forget to let me know how the information I gave you here worked out for you. And if you still have questions, know that it's completely natural. Please send them to me and I will do my best to upload tutorials that will address your questions. So now it's time to say goodbye and to your health. It was a pleasure to be here with you, always here for you, Dr. Sarit Avran.